In some religious traditions, the person who oversees services and rituals, advises members of the community on spiritual or social matters, knows the history of the tradition, studies scripture, or dedicates their life to full-time religious pursuit is the same person. Or at least some of those functions all overlap. In Hinduism, it generally doesn't work like that. Most of the time, these are distinct spiritual functions with different names for each. In this episode, we're going to sort out this popular misconception about Hinduism and unpack the differences and similarities between a guru, a swami, a priest, and a monk. I'm Matt McDermott, and this is All About Hinduism. Let's start with monks. And let's clear up right at the start one of the biggest misconceptions about being a Hindu monk. And this applies to the equivalents in Jainism, Buddhism, every dharmic tradition really. Just because you're a monk and have taken vows to dedicate your life full-time to spiritual study does not mean you're enlightened. It doesn't mean these people are at the end of some spiritual path. They may not even be farther along in their spiritual journey than anyone else in society, at least until after many years of practice. Rather, they have dedicated themselves to doing full-time spiritual pursuits. It's a job. It's even a business of sorts, a spiritual business focused on metaphysical understanding and exploration, and a noble thing to do in society, and something that is not to everyone's temperament, but it's a vocation. You become a monk not because you already have all the spiritual answers and want to just hang out with other people that also have it all figured out already, but because you want to figure it all out and want to associate with other people who think this is the most important thing to do in life. Hindu monks, then, not dissimilar to monastics in many spiritual traditions, are individuals who have entered into a recognized religious order to engage in full-time religious study and practice. Usually, they will live in an ashram with other monks, nearly always single-sex. There are female orders of monastics within the Hindu dharma traditions, with the ashram and order led by a guru. We'll get into what a guru actually is in a bit. There is usually a set procedure for initiation and progress within the order, with increasing levels of commitment. You don't jump into a lifetime of monkness right off the bat. Rather, you make a shorter commitment to test it out, and then only after some time make it a lifetime commitment. Or, sometimes you don't. And after a period of time decide to leave the order and return to a life outside the ashram. This can happen for a number of reasons. You decide that the regimentation of monastic life doesn't suit you for some reason. You manage to fall in love with a visitor to the ashram. Monks often interact with the community as a whole rather than being totally cloistered away, and decide that family life is what you want. Perhaps the head of the order passes away and you, for whatever reason, feel like you no longer fit as well in the order as you did. I personally have met former Hindu monks where each of these things have occurred. Or sometimes, you initially set out to experience monk life for a set period of time and then move on to other pursuits in life. I've met a number of people who have done this as well. In all these cases, the drive to seriously engage with spiritual, religious, metaphysical, and philosophical matters remains after taking off the monk's robes. Rather, the place and form those take changes between monk and non-monk life. What about sadhus? Near-naked men with dreadlocks sitting in lotus pose or performing extreme acts of physical denial are a common, if also somewhat overemphasized, representation of Hinduism, and have been for literally millennia. Sadhus are ultimately a form of Hindu renunciate life, not dissimilar in form to other types of Hindu monks, if sometimes dramatic in appearance and behavior. The history and evolution of the orders of sadhus is complex. A few centuries ago, some orders were as much bandits and mercenaries as people dedicated to spiritual pursuits, as is how they are viewed by Hindu society at large and the outside world. But if you think of sadhus as itinerant monks, you're on the right track. What then is a guru? There are a number of purported origins of the word guru, one of which is, quote, dispeller of darkness, the darkness here meaning spiritual ignorance. Though any master teacher can sometimes be referred to as a guru, most traditionally, guru refers to a spiritual teacher who not only has deep knowledge that can help other people on the path to moksha, but also has direct experience of the divine, which has been assimilated into their way of being. If monks are someone dedicated to walking a path to deeper spiritual knowledge and enlightenment, a guru is much, much farther along and can show others the way. Gurus often both have followers or students who are monks, as well as people who live life out in the world. The proportion of monk to lay followers varies from guru to guru. There's no requirement in any of the Hindu traditions to have a guru, but but at the same time, most hold that having a guru is immensely beneficial for one's spiritual knowledge and advancement. In other words, you don't need to have a guru to attain enlightenment, but it's easier to have someone show you the way than figuring it out all on your own. This is not dissimilar to any new journey. Having someone alongside you who has already made the trip, or at least knows most of the route, is easiest. Absent their presence, following written directions also makes the trip easier. The students of a guru are known as shishya. The term applies to both monastic and non-monastic contexts. Through the guru's spiritual, psychological, and practical insight, instructions are tailored according to what they see is required for the student to learn and advance spiritually. Until the latter part of the 20th century, all or at least the majority of teaching was done in an oral tradition, a direct transmission between teacher and student. Students often lived with or nearby their guru or visited regularly. Today, while the oral tradition is still highly valued, most gurus also have written extensive discourses on their teachings. Many also give live or recorded online lectures to students around the world, have formal students on every continent, and their teachings may well impact the lives of countless spiritual seekers who never intend to undertake extended study or meet the guru in person. There's no scriptural or cultural mandate for a guru to be male, though this might be what comes to mind when someone thinks of the word guru. In fact, throughout history and today, there have been plenty of prominent female gurus. Hinduism writ large doesn't have a single leader, but each individual teaching tradition that makes up the Hindu Dharma traditions places great importance on their lineage of teachers. Most gurus today were once themselves the shishya of another guru in the same lineage. Once in a while, however, a guru may arise who, through their own past discipline and spiritual study, is widely recognized as a spiritual master. This is rare. More generally, only when a recognized guru gives permission for one of their shishya to carry on the tradition as a guru can that student rightfully use that title. Sometimes, advanced students of a guru will also begin teaching on their own without claiming to be a full-fledged guru. This is something you often see in the study of yoga. Hindu sources of knowledge are often quite strict in their description of how students should behave towards their guru. Strict obedience, not questioning their instructions, giving over personal belongings, and the like. But just as society as a whole has trended towards less hierarchical attitudes over the past 50 years, so too have expectations around the behavior of students towards a guru. Respect and devotion is still the expectation, but the complete submission that is expressed in traditional texts is usually not the norm anymore. With this in mind, students are still expected to place trust in the teachings and methods of the guru, but aren't expected to be fully submissive or take what the guru says on blind faith. There's also a growing recognition that while a guru has deep spiritual knowledge to impart, and they continue to have an integral and positive role to play in Hindu culture, that doesn't mean they're entirely immune to the normal human responses to everyday situations. There's also a greater public acknowledgement that a guru can stray from the spiritual ideals they espouse and act in unethical or even abusive ways towards their students. Such behavior is increasingly and rightfully condemned when it occurs. Is a swami the same thing as a guru? Yes and no. The term swami can be used for both a guru or a monk, both of which have forsaken family life and dedicated themselves solely to spiritual study and practice. What's a Hindu priest then? Though both monks and gurus will know how to conduct certain rituals, certain pujas, the people who really keep Hindu temples running on a daily basis, who interact with the visitors to temples, and are the closest thing in this way to priests and other traditions, are known as pujari. That is, someone who performs a puja. Unlike gurus, they don't minister to the public in the sense of sharing spiritual insights, offering guidance on life's decisions, beyond perhaps helping what pujas are performed at specific times in life. Though they are literally intermediaries between temple goers and the murti at the temple, performing rituals of various sorts or helping visitors do so. They aren't intermediaries required for accessing divinity per se. You've made it to the end of this episode of All About Hinduism. Before you go, do me a favor. Leave us a nice 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. Please also subscribe or follow us so you can get all the new episodes the moment they're released. And if you found this episode informative, enjoyable, and useful, please share it right now with someone who will feel the same about it. Finally, you can help ensure that more of these get made by making a donation to HAF at hinduamerican.org/donate. Thanks again for listening.